always from the heart of the city, and now on demand 24/7 on the CHFI website. This is the soundtrack to a first impression. And I'm Don Jackson, around the world on the internet. James K. Feebleman, In the Way of a Man, published by Horizon Press, wrote, and I quote, "The importance of one event in any life is directly proportionate to its intensity. It may take a man a year to travel around the world, and the year may leave absolutely no impression on him. It may take him only a second to see the face of a woman, and that second may change his entire future. The example is extreme, though far from uncommon." Unquote. James K. Feebleman, In the Way of a Man. First impressions this hour with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Ray Charles with Diana Krall and You Don't Know Me, and James Blunt and You're Beautiful. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Sidney J. Harris from Field Newspaper Syndicate some years back wrote, and I quote, "The other evening, I met an attractive and not unintelligent woman whose only fault was that she was intolerable. She wanted to be liked and appreciated too fast. She burned out like a firecracker between the soup and the dessert. One of the most characteristic failings of such people is their desperate need to make an impression. But people need to be unwrapped slowly and deliciously. Those who tear off their own ribbons and rip open their own covers lose the very appreciation they are trying so desperately to win." Sidney J. Harris from Field Newspaper Syndicate. First impressions this hour with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Chris DeBurgh with The Lady in Red, Savage Garden and I Knew I Loved You, and Blue Rodeo with 5 Days in May. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. This was a fairly perceptive observation of those that Helen Keller came into contact with. "The hands of those I meet are dumbly eloquent to me. The touch of some hands is an impertinence. I have met people so empty of joy that when I clasped their frosty fingertips, it seemed as if I were shaking hands with a northeast storm. Others there are whose hands have sunbeams in them, so that their grasp warms my heart. Helen Keller. First impressions this hour, even in the gentle touch of a stranger's hand, with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Hall & Oates and Sara Smile. Kenny G with Babyface and Every Time I Close My Eyes, and Louis Armstrong and What a Wonderful World. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com for Wednesday, November the 18th, 2009. For a moment, I want you to imagine what it might be like to have been blind for a long time and then to suddenly regain your sight. What might your first impression be of the world around you? This is an excerpt from the 1989 edition of the Friendship Book of Francis Gay, published by D.C. Thompson and Company. Gay writes, and I quote, "I was listening to a radio talk the other day about a lady who had regained her sight after many years of blindness. She was so thankful to be able to see the miracles of creation again that she kept exclaiming how beautiful the grass is, how green it is. She picked up lovely autumn leaves and took them home in a box because the sight of them was so precious. Why don't people say they are so beautiful?" she said. Francis Gay goes on to write, "It made me realize how much we take for granted, not really noticing things because we rarely see them every day. The world is filled with beautiful sights. Let's take time to look at them." Unquote. And this was featured in the Atlantic magazine, again from Helen Keller. I asked a friend who had just returned from a long walk in the woods what she had observed. "Nothing in particular," she replied. How is that possible? I asked myself. I, who cannot hear or see, find hundreds of things to interest me through mere touch. I feel the delicate symmetry of a leaf. I pass my hands lovingly about the rough, shaggy bark of a pine. Occasionally, I am very fortunate. I place my hand gently on a small tree and feel the happy quiver of a bird in full song. Unquote. First Impressions this hour with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Celine Dion in Some Small Way, and the Beatles with Blackbird. And I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, M.D., from The Wheel of Life, published by Scribner, wrote, and I quote, I have never met a person whose greatest need was anything other than real, unconditional love. You can find it in a simple act of kindness towards someone who needs help. There is no mistaking love. You feel it in your heart. It is the common fiber of life, the flame that heats our soul, supplies passion to our lives, and energizes our spirit. It is our connection to God and to each other. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, from The Wheel of Life, published by Scribner. First Impressions this hour with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Jason Mraz and I'm Yours, and Van Morrison, Have I Told You Lately? Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. CHFI.com. One final thought on first impressions. This is a very telling truth about one, and not the fault of the one making it. Joanne C. Jones, in Guideposts, wrote, and I quote, "During my second year of nursing school, our professor gave us a pop quiz. I breezed through the questions until I read the last one. What is the first name of the woman who cleans the school?" Surely this was some kind of a joke. I had seen the cleaning woman several times, but how would I know her name? Leaving the last question blank, I handed in my paper. Before the class ended, one student asked if the last question would count towards our grade. "Absolutely," the professor said. "In your careers, you will meet many people. All are significant. They deserve your attention and care, even if all you do is smile and say hello." I've never forgotten that lesson. I also learned her name was Dorothy. Unquote. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Good night, sweet dreams. I'm Don Jackson.